Okay, today we're going to start on Ayin Base 72 on the top, first word, Mimatzis. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. In this chus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. Okay, learning the Nishmas of the Golden Basra Yamin and the Sanas of Ben Mitzin, and also, fortunately, the Avim David Ben Sarah and Dalia Getzel Eliezer Ben Fegan Tzipera. Okay, so the Gemara starts out with a question. We're going to have a question over here, which is going to take us the entire Amud. It's going to be one question. Yeah, it's about 25 lines. It's all one long question. What happened was, in order to understand what's going on, is that in general, there's a machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan. If when someone sells something, if he sells it very generously or if he sells it more stingy. Rabbi Akiva says he sells it very generous, and the Rabbanan says he sells it stingy. Okay, now, listen to how this is put. If someone gives a gift, then when he gives a gift, he gives it generously. Everyone agrees he gives a gift generously. When he's makdish something, so that seems to be like the way he gives a gift. Yeah. Reb Shimon, on the other hand, said, no, even when you makdish it, you don't really, it's not like giving a gift. When you makdish it, you retain for yourself all those things that would not have been given if it would have been given a gift. Let's itemize it a little bit so to make it clear. If someone sells a field, he doesn't sell the pit that's in the field, even according to Rabbi Akiva. Even though Rabbi Akiva is so generous, right? Someone that's selling, he sells. No, the difference between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan would be the path to the pit. According to Rabbi Akiva, because he sells generously, he sold the field, including in that field is the path that he needs to get to the pit. He sold that path as well. But he didn't sell the pit. Because you're not that generous when you're selling. Rabbi Akiva says you're generous, but not that generous. You're not selling things that aren't included in the field. Pit's not included. The path, though, on the other hand, Rabbi Akiva says you sell. The Rabbanan say that you didn't even sell the path to the pit. If you kept the pit, then you kept the path to the pit. Okay. When it comes to giving a gift, then Rabbi Akiva would say that you don't need Rabbi Akiva. Everyone would agree that you're selling not just the path to the pit, but even if not, it's not selling. You're not only giving the path to the pit, but you're even giving the pit. Yeah, it's another level. The Naisin Matana is not just Rabbi Akiva's view of a sale. The Naisin Matana is an added step even onto Rabbi Akiva. Yeah. Now, what's about Makdish? When it comes to Makdish, when it comes to consecrating, so the Rabbanan seem to say that you're giving everything. It's like a Naisin Matana. It's like you're giving a gift. The pit should go along. And Reb Shimon says that no, that when you're makdish something, when you consecrate something, you're not consecrating everything. You're only consecrating the actual thing. It's more like a sale. Okay, now it's more like a sale. Reb Shimon's actual view is that if you makdish property, you're not makdish anything along with it. You're not makdish the pits and the thing, like he argues on the rabbis.
You're more generous.
When you're makdish, that's what the rabbis hold. And Reb Shimon says no. The exception of trees, and we explained in a brisa that why are the trees sold along? The reason is because their nourishment comes from a field that's hektish. That's why the trees are because they're growing from that. Okay, now we had a statement. That's what Reb Shimon's opinion is. Really, a makdish is not so generous, but by the trees, what is he able to do? The trees, they're growing from a land that's hektish.
I think it should be more like a gift, because whether Rabbi Akiva or the Rabbanim, the path is included or not, like that could be negotiable.
If someone is makdish, the path everyone agrees goes along by a gift, but much more than that. You'd even giving the everything that's there. It's even much more than the path by a gift.
Yeah, you don't need a path.
Well, you're talking about if you makdish a field, but not the pit, not the cistern, the well. So did you leave yourself a path to get to that well?
Like if you makdish a tree, you don't need a path to get there. Right?
If you makdish the tree, just the tree itself, and just the tree. One tree doesn't come along with any land. You just makdish the tree. Here we're talking about you makdish the field and you're keeping the tree. Are you keeping in that field that you're makdish also the path? Gets them. Anyway, Reb Shimon says that if you makdish the field, the trees are hektish as well. He's the lenient opinion, and he holds the trees are hektish. The reason is because they're growing from a hektish land. Now the problem is that we had a statement from Rav Huna. Rav Huna says that if someone sells property and he keeps 2 trees, he also has the land that's under those trees. So we asked the question on Rav Huna. 1 second. Why does Reb Shimon say that the trees are hektish? Why does Reb Shimon say the trees are hektish? Because they're growing from hektish property.
Right.
1 second. According to Reb Shimon, when you're makdish property, it must mean that the property under the trees are hektish, and that's why the trees become hektish. You weren't makdish the trees, but the trees become hektish because the property is hektish. According to Rav Huna, when you sell property and you keep the trees, we say that you have the land that's under the trees. 1 second. So if you're makdish property and you keep the trees, then it's not growing from hektish property, because according to Rav Huna, you keep the land that's under the trees. It's growing from your property. So it doesn't fit with Reb Shimon. Rav Huna doesn't fit with Reb Shimon. That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara answered the question. The Gemara said that Reb Shimon would follow the view of Rabbi Akiva. But Rabbi Akiva holds that you're more generous, and that's why you're makdish the land that's under the trees as well, and therefore the trees automatically become hektish because they're growing from land that's hektish. But Rav Huna is following the Rabbanan that says that you're more stingy, and therefore when you sell property and keep the trees, you're also keeping not just the trees but the land under it. That would be the opinion of the Rabbanan. That's where the Gemara is holding right now. That Rav Huna would hold like Rabbi Akiva. I'm sorry, Rav Huna would hold like the Rabbanan, that you're more stingy and you keep the land that's under it. And Reb Shimon that says that the land becomes hektish under the trees, and therefore the trees become hektish. That would be the view of Rabbi Akiva that says that you're more generous. You ready for the new Gemara?
No, but we learn when someone sells a field, it doesn't necessarily include the trees as well. It depends.
Right, depends. Right. Yeah, that's exactly. That's what we're talking about. Those trees that aren't included. What about the land under those trees?
I think like you get like a certain amount of space underneath.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Two or 3 trees, machlekes. Okay. The Gemara says, are you able to say that Reb Shimon holds that you're more generous, like the way Rabbi Akiva holds? Well, Tanya, but we have a brisa. This question is going to take us down all the way to the bottom. The brisa says like this, literally to the last word on the page. Hikdish shleisha ilanis. If someone is makdish 3 trees, mimata asara lebeisa, from an area that would have 10 trees per base per besa, which is 250 amas. How much is a besa? The besa is 2,500 square amas. So this would be 10 trees, but each one would have 250. So three trees in a property that could hold 10 trees. Because you are makdish those trees, so all of the property becomes hektish, including the smaller trees that are there. These are big trees. Smaller trees would get included. So lefikach kashu paida, because this is a large area, when you're going to redeem it, when someone redeems property that was an inheritance after it was consecrated and is redeeming it back, so when you're makdish something, when you consecrate something, it goes to the basic mikdash, and then you can redeem it, and the basic mikdash would get the money, so you redeem it, so they get the value of it. So how do you redeem it? So that says that if it's the area of a base core, which is zerachem resayim, which is this the way you redeem it is you do one sela plus a pundian per year. That's left until Yovel. So let's say you would redeem it, which means that you're going to redeem it for 50. There's 49 years, and it turns out that there's 48 pundian in a sela. So you add a cell. It's basically a cell and a pundian per year. There's one missing at the end, but I think it says that gets added in somehow.
So you pay the whole thing all
in
1 year?
Yeah, so the way you redeem it is that ratio of sela and pundian per year. So here we're saying that you can, because it's a inheritance field, and because the whole field was consecrated, so you redeem it as a field is redeemed, which is based on that area for a sela and a pundian.
Between the time it's hektish and you redeem it, you can't benefit from it.
Right. Let's say it's not the same, it's not the right ratio of trees per land, that all the land becomes consecrated. Or you weren't makdish the trees altogether. You were makdish one tree at a time. We're talking about 3 trees in this large area. If that's the case, then you're only consecrated the trees, but not the land. Right? The way the land gets consecrated is when it's the right ratio of trees per land. But if it's not that right ratio, so then you only makdish the trees themselves. Money. So now when you're coming to redeem, you don't have that special instruction that the Torah tells us of how to redeem property, which is one sela and one pundian per year for the Yovel. This is just regular consecration. You consecrated trees independently. So you have to redeem the trees at their value. It's not the prescripted value that the Torah gives for property. It's the value that's the whatever the value is at that time for those trees. There's no prescription. It's not prescribed of what the value is. Because here you just consecrated the trees. Not only that, Ranayan Be'ezum and Aleph. In the middle of a brisa. Let's say first he consecrates the trees, and then he consecrates the land. When he's coming to redeem it, he redeems the trees at their value, and he redeems the karka at the land at the prescribed value that the Torah gives for land. Of inherited property.
So if he makes 3 trees hectares, all the land between would also have to.
That's the way it says. That's right. The only problem is that we were learning here we're learning here, how was he able to be makdish the trees and not the property? According to Rabbi Akiva,
Says here redeems the trees separately.
that's the idea here. What's happening now is that he consecrated trees, but the property didn't get consecrated along with it. Now the question is, who would hold that? When you consecrate trees, the property under the trees is not consecrated. So it sounds like the Rabbanan that's stingy, right? Mani, Rabbi Akiva. If it would be the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, what's the aleph over here? Name Rabbi Akiva. It says, if we say that it's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, we're asking who's the author of this brisa. If it's Rabbi Akiva, Hamar Meicher Bayin Yafa Meicher Koshke Makdish. 1 second. Rabbi Akiva says when someone makes a sale, he's generous. For sure, when he's Makdish, you're even more generous than Makdish. That's more like a gift. If that's the case, then why is he redeeming the trees independently from the land? Once he consecrated the trees, the land under it is already consecrated. It should all go together. Rabbanan, but if it's the Rabbanan, Amri Meicher who the Bayin Ra Meicher Abel Makdish Bayin Yafa Makdish. But even if it's the Rabbanan in our Mishnah said, now when do we say you don't sell the cistern together with the land? That's only by a sale. But when you're giving a gift, and the same thing applies when hektish, then it does go along. So if that's the case, so when he's makdish the trees, the land should go along with the trees. Elapshita Reb Shimon. It must be that one view that we had in the Mishnah, which is Reb Shimon, which says that when you makdish the land, you don't get the cistern together with it. The hektish doesn't get the cistern because you're stingy even by hektish. So over here, when you makdish the trees, the land is not going to go along with it. Now the Rab Shimon Ali B'Daman. Now the Gemara says, yes, you have to view it like this. I have Rabbanan versus Rabbi Akiva when it comes to a sale. Rabbanan say he sells stingy. Rabbi Akiva says he sells generously. Now I have hektish, right? And now I have in a machlekes between the Rabbanan and Rab Shimon regarding hektish. So machlekes regarding a sale, that's Rabbanan versus Rabbi Akiva. Now I'm going to have Rabbanan versus Rab Shimon regarding hektish. Now I'm using the word Rabbanan. It doesn't have to be the same Rabbanan as sages. Okay, so who is Rab Shimon arguing? In which opinion is Rab Shimon arguing? In the opinion of the Rabbanans would be like a flow chart. Rabbanan versus Rabbi Akiva. Put Rabbi Akiva on the side now. Now Rabbanan, in the Rabbanan, there's a machlekes Rabbanan and Rab Shimon of how does it work by hektish. So the Gemara says like this: Rab Shimon Ali b'Daman, Ali b'Rabbi Akiva. If we would say that Rab Shimon is arguing with the Rabbanan regarding Rabbi Akiva Hamar Meicher Bayin Yafa V'Koskin Makdish, then how could, even when it comes to a sale, Rabbi Akiva says he's generous for sure. By hektish, he's going to be generous. It must be. Rab Shimon is not arguing with the other sages about Rabbi Akiva's opinion when it comes to hektish. He's arguing with the other sages regarding the Rabbanan's opinion when it comes to hektish. Because the Rabbanan say by a sale he's stingy. What about by hektish? Rab Shimon says no, it's still like a sale. The Rabbanan would say no, hektish is going to be more like a gift. It's going to be different. Because Sava Rab Shimon, Rab Shimon holds that just like when it comes to a sale, you're stingy, so too when it comes to hektish, you're stingy. What comes out now, let's just go back to see where we're holding. What comes out now is that we tried to say before that Rav Huna is going to hold like the Rabbanan. Rav Huna had this opinion that if someone sells property and keeps the trees, he keeps the property under the trees as well. We asked on that Reb Shimon says that if someone is makdish a property, even though nothing in the property becomes hektish other than the land itself, the exception to that is the trees, because the trees grow from the hektish property, so the trees become hektish. So we said, according to Reb Shimon, it comes out that the land underneath the trees is hektish, and that when you keep the trees, you're not keeping the land underneath. But according to Rav Huna, when you keep the trees by a sale, you do keep the land underneath. That's what Rav Huna said. So we couldn't fit Rav Huna with Reb Shimon. So to resolve that, we said that Rav Huna holds like the Rabbanan that says that you keep more, you're more stingy. And we said that Reb Shimon was more generous. It says that you give more. You give the land under the trees. When you sell it, when you mock this, you're giving the land under the trees. We just had a brisa that tells us that Reb Shimon holds that you're stingy. Reb Shimon cannot fit with Rabbi Akiva. Reb Shimon says when you mock this the trees, you're not mock this the land at all. So Reb Shimon says that you're stingy. Reb Shimon's like the Rabbanan. So our answer before that Reb Shimon would go like Rabbi Akiva doesn't fit, because we have a brisa that says that Reb Shimon goes with the Rabbanan.
When you mock or something, isn't that like giving a gift?
Yeah.
And people are more generous.
Yeah.
When they give it.
That's the opinion of the Rabbanan. Reb Shimon says no. Reb Shimon says makdish is more like a business, and he's more stingy.
But the Rabbanan usually are more stingy.
Right.
But then when it comes to
The hektish, they say that it's more like a gift. When it comes to a sale, there was a machlekes Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva. When it comes to hektish, there's a machlekes Rabbanan and Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon becomes the stingy one. So if you would go from generous, it would be Reb Shimon would be the most stingy. Then there's the Rabbanan that make a difference between hektish and a sale. Then there's Rabbi Akiva that says even a sale they're generous. So it goes on this chart from the generosity line. It would be Reb Shimon would be the least, the Rabbanan, and then Rabbi Akiva. Now, there's details in there that don't match perfectly because there's two levels of this. Because when it comes to a sale, even Rabbi Akiva that says that you're generous doesn't mean that you sell the pit. When you sell the property, you don't sell the pit. You've sold the path that you needed to get to the pit. When it comes to a gift, which is what we're dealing with here, you gave the pit as well. So there's another level of this. You can't match it up perfectly like that. Okay, whatever the case is. So if you, according to Rabbi Akiva, right? So according to Rabbi Akiva, you sold the land, and you're keeping the pit for yourself. But because you're generous in the sale, you sold the land together with the path that you really need to get to it. And therefore, when you want to get to it now, you have to buy it again. You have to buy it as opposed to the Rabbanan that say no, you kept the path. Okay. So we have a question on how we answered Rav Huna before. We're stuck over there.
The difference between a right of passage and ownership of that path.
It may be just the right of passage. It may not be the ownership of the path. It just means the right of it. Could be that's the chart. Now, like, can you sell it? That's like,
right.
Now,
there's such a thing like an easement to the property.
Like, right. You know, because if it disappears,
a neighbor of mine.
If it disappears, or if it's a tree and it dies or something, and you don't have the tree anymore, whatever the case is, you lose the path as well. You don't really own it. You have the rights. Now, going through this Gemara, what comes out is one other problem. Besides that, we have a problem now that we don't have a way of resolving Rav Huna. The Gemara likes those problems. We have a kasha. We have a kasha on Rav Huna. How does Rav Huna say that you keep the land? Reb Shimon says that you don't. And don't tell me that Reb Shimon holds like Rabbi Akiva and Rav Huna is not talking like, because Reb Shimon holds like the Rabbanan. Okay, we have another problem. Reb Shimon before says that when someone is makdish property, he's makdish also the land, right? Under it. Under the trees. His makdish property is makdish land even though he wasn't makdish the trees, but the land under the trees is makdish. That means that Reb Shimon is generous. Now we have a brisa that says Reb Shimon says when someone's makdish trees, He's not makdish the land under it. And when he's makdish the land afterwards, those are two separate things, which means Reb Shimon is stingy. So I have a contradiction in Reb Shimon himself.
When did he say that
He said
that was in the Mishnah?
No, it's a brisa that says matam hayol v'yonkim mistei hekdesh. It's a brisa that's explaining his opinion. Yeah, Shimon's view.
Third.
Yeah, it's a third source, but it's the Gemara quoted to explain the Mishnah, his opinion in the Mishnah. Okay, so Ve'ela, the Gemara asked this question: Ve'ela kasha hayol v'yonkim mistei hekdesh. If you want to say that Reb Shimon says that it's stingy, so how did Reb Shimon say before that hayol v'yonkim mistei hekdesh, that the trees are hekdesh because their nourishment is coming from hekdesh? That means the land under the trees was hekdesh. That means Reb Shimon says it's generous.
Someone note here it said it depends how close together the trees are.
Yeah.
In the Rashban,
Yeah.
They're separated together.
Right, if the land would go along with it, right? Ella Zigmar says Reb Shimon ledevreim de Rabbanan Kamalu. Reb Shimon is not saying his actual opinion. Reb Shimon is saying a argument on the Rabbanan. This is they say when they have debates, there were debates over the years with the Jews and Christians and they want to prove from those debates what the Jewish philosophy is. And based on those things, they say you can't always prove from that. So they were arguments. They're trying to prove the other one wrong. It doesn't mean that he really holds that. It means that's part of the way to get the other person out. You say things that's not really your opinion. So here, Reb Shimon was telling the Rabbanan the following: Lididi, you want to know the truth? According to me, according to me, when you're makdish, it's just like a sale. When you consecrate something, it's just like a sale. And if that's the case, we're not consecrating even the trees. Just like a sale. When you sell a property, you don't sell the trees.
Yeah, but why would the Gemara analogize hektish to selling? Why not? Why isn't it just a form of gift? I mean, the only difference between hektish and matana is we've had it so far was who it goes to until I think today.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the explanation for Reb Shimon, but that's Reb Shimon's view. You're right. Everyone else holds like that.
Yeah.
The Rabbanan, Rabbi Akiva, everyone holds that when you're makdish generously, just like a gift. But Reb Shimon holds that no, when someone's makdish, it's only makdish exactly what he's makdish, and as if it was a sale, as if it was a business transaction. Yeah. Yeah, Rabbi Lipsker would describe Mr. Rohr. When it came to tzedakah, he did it like a business deal. He wanted to get the value for his money. And so where can I invest more that's going to give me back the best return? It's like the same like team, you sit in a team and see like if we invest in Russia, we'll get more for our more Bali Tshuva for our for the money that we put in. It's like it's a business. Anyway. Okay. So he says like this: Lididi, according to me, so hektish is exactly the same like a sale. But lididchu, but according to you, that you say that makdish is like a gift. At least admit to me, what Reb Shimon is suggesting to the Rabbanan is that you're jumping 2 steps in hektish. And he's saying like this, that there's a machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva about a sale. If someone is meicher bayin yafa or meicher bayin ra, Rabbi Akiva says meicher bayin yafa, the Rabbanan say meicher bayin ra. Now, that if someone sells a property and he doesn't sell the pit, Rabbi Akiva says he sold the path to the pit. And now if he wants to get into his own pit, he has to purchase it. So that's only one step. But when you're giving a gift, even when you're giving a gift, you're not just giving the path, you're giving the pit as well. So what Reb Shimon is telling the Rabbanan is when it comes to Makdish, you should just take it to the level of Rabbi Akiva's Meicher. You should just take it one level. Don't take it two levels that you're selling that you're Makdish everything in the property, all the pits and the trees and all of that. No, you should just take it up one notch, where the notch where Rabbi Akiva holds, where the path to the soul, the path, the trees, the trees will become hektish because the land under the trees is hektish. But not that everything should be hektish. That's what Reb Shimon is suggesting to the Rabbanan. He's saying, I understand you want to say that hektish is more generous, but don't jump all the way to that. So that's why he's suggesting that it's just the trees. But Amri la Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan say back, Leishna, no, we're not going to make any difference. If someone's makdish something, he's going to be makdish. He's going to be as generous as if it was a gift. Okay.
So Rabbi Akiva was the one where claimed people were
more generous by a sale. Yeah. According to this, where are we holding now? Back with Reb Shimon. Could say that Reb Shimon really holds that when someone consecrates, when someone consecrates, he doesn't consecrate anything along with it. Just exactly what he said, as if it would be a sale. Therefore, Rav Huna, when someone we could say that the land under the trees, according to him, according to Reb Shimon, the land under the trees is not. The land under the trees is he retains. He keeps that land. He keeps land under the trees. Yeah, and we could say the Chiddush of Rav Huna is that even according to Rabbi Akiva, that says that when someone sells, he sells also the property that's underneath the trees. He would sell everything. But that's only not. It wouldn't be selling the property under the trees, because when someone wants to retain the trees in the land, wants to retain them forever. When it came to the path to get to the cistern, if you remember from yesterday, when it came to the path, he's not worried that maybe he's going to lose it entirely, because the cistern is going to be there, and he'll have to buy a new path. So he's ready to give the path. The guy that just bought the property is not concerned that the cistern is in his property and is going to try to get rid of him. But when it came to the trees, he is concerned that the new purchaser is concerned that the seller has trees in his property that's ruining his property, and he would love to get rid of him. So therefore, when the trees die, he's going to say, take your trees and go. So therefore, because he doesn't want to end up without anything, he wants to end up with always owning it. So he's going to keep the land under the trees. He should be able to replant them. So that would be the Chiddush of Rav Huna, even according to Rabbi Akiva. Okay. And now the Gemara says a side question. But Mayu Kimtala, how did we establish the Brisa? Reb Shimon, we said that the Brisa is Reb Shimon name Seifa. Let's go further. Brisa says Elafilu hikdash eseilanis, even if you makdish the trees v'chazer v'hikdash esekarka, and then you consecrate the land kishu paida when you redeem it. Paida eseilanis b'shavei and v'chazer paida bezer chaymer seirim b'chamishim shekel kesef. You have to do that independently. There's two things over here that are being redeemed. There's the trees that are being redeemed at their value, and then there's the property that's being redeemed at the prescribed value that the Torah gives us. It says Reb Shimon, but if you want to say that the Brisa is Reb Shimon, Lezel Basar Pidyain, we should go after the way it is, not at the time that it was consecrated. You should go the way it is at the time of redemption, which is we know that Reb Shimon holds that you go after the way that it is at the time of redemption. At the time of redemption, both of them are consecrated, and you should just redeem the whole thing all as one. Because if you would have consecrated the property with the trees all together, then you would just redeem it for the prescribed amount, which is a sell and a pundian per area. And here we're
something separately, but then together.
Yeah, because ultimately it would be like this. When you buy a phone, you have to buy the phone, and then you have to buy the case. But when you then resell that phone, you don't separate the case from the phone. You say, I'm selling a used phone. Here's the comes with the case. So what happened was when he was makdish it, makdish this, and it was makdish that. When it comes to the redemption, you're just getting this used thing. You get the whole thing back. That's what it is at the time of sale. Right? Trees in the land. Yeah. When it comes to redemption, we're suggesting that according to Reb Shimon, you should be able to redeem it all together, which the Brisa doesn't say that. How do we know that Reb Shimon holds this? The Tanya. So in a Brisa, minayin l'lekech sadami aviv, v'ekdish v'achkach mesaviv. How do we know that if someone purchases a field from his father, yeah, from his own father, he purchases the field. So this field is called a purchased field, stay mikneh. Now, if his father dies, then it becomes a stay achuza, an inherited field. That was part of his inheritance. But right now, it's considered a stay mikneh. Now, the way a stay mikneh is redeemed is different than a stay achuza. The stay achuza is the one that's redeemed with the prescribed amount. The stay mikneh is redeemed at its value. So what happened was someone purchased the field from his father, and then he consecrates it. So he consecrated a Sedei Mikneh, a purchased field, which is different than the Sedei Achuz. But then his father died. So now he inherited something that he doesn't have anymore. That field, because he was Makdish. The field switches. Right. He bought it.
So if
I know, but the status of it switches because Yoivel, it goes back and all of that. That doesn't happen when it's a purchased field. That only happens by an inherited. If he would now sell it, now it comes back to him. You see, the status of it switches when the father dies. So now the status of the hektish is now switching. You follow? Yeah, because you redeem if you sell a field, if someone purchases a field and then is makdish it, the redemption of that field is at the field's value. But if someone inherits a field, he's makdish it, so then it's redeemed at its prescribed value that the Torah gives.
But how does he inherit it if his father died after he bought it?
So he bought it from his father.
Done. Now you can tell me.
But the status of it switches because the father just died.
After he bought it.
Yeah, but look at this. Look, when Yovel comes, where does that field go? It goes back to his father because he bought it, right?
It goes back to him because he's the owner.
1 second. Yeah, but no.
His father died.
So you see, so that's how an inherited field works. That's not how a purchased field works.
And so the purchased field would go
to some other guy that you purchased it from. Okay, so
saying a purchased field doesn't go back after Yovel to the original.
It goes back to the original owner, right?
Both cases.
So here, it doesn't go to his father; it goes to him. It means it's an inherited field. Okay, but it was consecrated beforehand. So the son purchased it from his father, consecrates it. The father dies. Now the question is, when it comes to the pidyon, how does he? How do we know that we view it as the time of consecration at the time, not the time of the time of redemption?
Question is how much he
has to pay to redeem it. So we view it as it is at the time of redemption, which is as a inherited field. We quote a pasuk: if it's a purchased field, which is not an inherited field, what does that mean? That the way you redeem a purchased field is only a purchased field that's not eligible to be an inherited field. But this field was eligible to be an inherited field when the father dies. So therefore, the Rabbi Yehuda, Reb Shimon, they say the words of Rabbi Yehuda, Reb Shimon is that you redeem it as a inherited field, which means the time of redemption. Reb Meir says, Reb Meir's view is different. He says, someone purchases a field from his father, and the father dies. before he was makdish. And then he consecrates it. You hear the difference. Then, how do you know that it switches a status, that now it's turned into an inherited field? This is a steachuza. So it's a machlokes between Reb Meir versus Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon. If you consecrate it before you inherit it, Reb Meir and Reb Shimon say that nevertheless it becomes inheritance because we view it as the way it's redeemed at the time of redemption. Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon. I'm sorry. And Reb Meir, on the other hand, he holds that you view it as at the time of the way it was as when it was consecrated, which is a purchased field. It would only be if you consecrated it after you inherit. According to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, we don't even need a pasuk to say Reb Meir's case, that if the father died and then he was makdish it. When do we need a pasuk? That would only be if you consecrate it, and then the father died. I want to say that it's still considered an inherited field. Minolahu, how do they know this? If it's from this pasuk itself, then maybe the pasuk is only telling me. How do they know that what this pasuk is telling me? They're extending this pasuk a step further than Reb Meir's extending it. The Gemara says, well, the reason is because Allah Mishum does it basipidyan. The reason why they're doing that is because they say you view it the way it is at the time of redemption. If you view it at the time of redemption, we have a kasha that how could Reb Shimon hold that at the time of redemption I have trees and I have property and I view them as two separate things. Maisa, they're both together. Trees and property. I should redeem it all as one big property. The time of redemption, it's all hektish. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, "Leilam ba'alma Rabbi Reb Shimon le'asli basipidyan." Really, they don't go after the time of redemption. Over here, they're learning the pasuk. It's really all coming from the pasuk. They don't go after the time of redemption. Im Kain, they explain like this: Lichtav kra ve'im estei mikdasi asher le'achuzasei. Let the pasuk say, if it's a purchase field which is not inherited, inami ste'achuzasei, or just say an inherited field. My asher loy mistei achuzasei, which is not from an inherited field. So they're coming to learn from that. There's that extra mem, which is not from an inheritance, coming to tell me that it's not even eligible to be inherited.
Even if you say that goes after the time of dia,
it's to say, even if it goes after the time, even if it goes after the time of consecration, but over here it's going to be different.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah, consecration at Makdish, over here it's going to be different.
What's the difference in the value?
Like, if it's inherited field, then I redeem it as one sell and one pundian per base chaymer sayrim. If otherwise, I have to redeem it as at its value. Whatever the market value is, yeah.
Which one is more?
I think it's less when it's inherited. Should we do this tomorrow on Sunday? We'll finish this, or should I just rush through it now? Yeah. We'll finish it on Sunday. We'll finish it on Sunday. That way I don't have to figure it out. Okay.
So Friday there's no share?
Is there no share tomorrow?
I'm sorry. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow. It's been a long week. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
To tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sunday is the same time?
Sunday is 6:30.